Gormagat Gahirlach, and I want to acknowledge the presence of both ministers here in the House, although I do feel like we're in the wrong seats. The difficulty we're here, ministers, though, is that for some schools and for some children, there is no seat in schools. For some children and for some schools, we haven't been able to vindicate the constitutional right for an appropriate education that exists in this state. And the difficulty we have in doing that is that the Department of Education doesn't provide education. It funds and provides a governance of it, but the Department of Education does not run schools. We have a voluntary system in this country, some of them with trusts like Acela or with organisations like Educate Together. And each school has a voluntary board which runs that school. But it's our job in this House to vindicate the right of those children to that education. And so to do that, if schools are unwilling to provide that, then we need to take measures such as Section 37A to ensure that that right is vindicated. Now, we have seen that Section 37A has not worked. And therefore, today, what we're doing in here, we're vindicating the right of children with special needs to be able to secure a place in schools in a timely manner. And I welcome that, and I welcome the fact that we are doing it in an emergency way before the end of the recess, because disability rights are human rights, and we need to make sure that we do our job in this House to vindicate those. Now, I know there are many people that work in the education sector that will struggle with governments instructing that this must be done. And I know that because I've worked very closely for the last 3.5 years with the school principals, with the CINO, and with parents. And I have to say, with both Minister Madigan and Minister Rabbitte, have both met parents in my area who've advocated for this. So I understand the complex dynamic between schools and parents, but at the centre of that is the children. And that is what we need to focus on. So this will be a challenge for education. It will be a challenge for schools. It's going to be particularly a challenge for DEIS schools. DEIS schools have an awful lot on their plate. There are many complex factors from outside of the classroom coming into a DEIS school, and principals have to juggle all of those things. But DEIS schools want ASD classes in their schools too. So I don't want the message to go out that because you're a DEIS school that you don't want to take on the challenge of an ASD class. And I cite the example of Minister Foley coming out to Virgin Mary Girls' School in my area after they decided to open a new class. Now, the principal of that school would tell me now that she does not have the treatments and therapies available to fully support those children. And the conversation I've had with her is, that's true, but the parents before that child had that place didn't have those treatments and therapies either. And I believe if we can get children into schools, we will have a far better chance of ensuring that the HSE, and the HSE must deliver the treatments and therapies for those people in schools. Because once we get children into schools, that's the place where we can help support them with measures like the school inclusion model. So I really welcome this legislation. I urge us to pass it in this House as quickly as possible.